What would it be like if your entire family was massacred by the very person you loved after transmigrating into the novel you were reading? Ruby, a girl turned into a living doll with mesmerizing beauty, finds herself trapped in an unwanted political marriage. Forced into this fate by her foolish father, Pope Borgia, she is to marry Isaac, the infamous eldest son of the royal family, an angelic yet demonic figure, and a knight famous throughout the North. Isaac, however, suffers from an allergy to women, making their engagement even more complicated. As Ruby faces her destiny as a tool to be manipulated by her family, the question remains, will she accept her fate, or will she rise up and find her own happiness with Prince Isaac? Follow along to see what unfolds. The story begins during a seemingly ordinary dinner. Ruby sits at the table when, like a bolt from the blue, she hears shocking news. "My dear, your father has finally found a suitable husband for you," the middle-aged man sitting opposite her exclaims with excitement. "This is Pope Borgia, Ruby's foolish, non-blood father, despised by the world." Ruby's nerves leave her speechless as she stares at him. Meanwhile, Enzo, the second son of the Pope, reacts strongly. "Not again," he mutters in frustration. "It hasn't even been 3 months since she broke off the engagement." Although the Pope tries to remind his son to stay calm, Enzo adds irritably, "No matter how much you want an ally, father, you should still consider her feelings." The Pope is taken aback by his son's reaction, his eyes widening in surprise. "I can't get used to you suddenly playing the role of a brother. So, can you defeat those barbarians instead of Britannia's relief army?" Enzo immediately made a bold declaration. "Is there anything I can't do? Those barbarians just need the best knight of the south." The Pope, unable to tolerate any longer, sternly replied, "Stop talking nonsense." In contrast to the tense atmosphere, Ruby had already come to terms with the situation in her heart. "Whatever will be, she thought, cheerfully interrupting the argument. "So, what kind of person is he, father?" The Pope immediately answered with pride. "He's a famous figure in Britannia, the king's beloved nephew, known as the most feared knight of the north. Very handsome. You'll like him very much." Upon hearing this, Ruby protested more vehemently. "No way, father. How bad is that guy's reputation?" Ruby could never have imagined the truth, that the handsome knight would one day wipe out her entire family. Lost in thought, she suddenly heard a gentle call from behind. Her heart skipped a beat as she felt a familiar presence. "Why do I get goosebumps like this?" she wondered. Without even needing to look, she knew the man who had just acted intimately with her was Elle, the Pope's eldest son. While Enzo sighed in frustration, the Pope and his wife exchanged glances of anticipation. Ruby clenched her hands to regain her composure, then replied with a smile, "Thank you, father. I'm very happy to be able to help you like this." Her response made her parents burst with happiness, and even Cesar showed support for his sister's decision with a loving kiss on her forehead. "Ah, Ruby is so good." Unaware of the danger ahead, Ruby secretly began to plot her next move. "Okay, first I have to kiss him to my heart's content. Then think about a strategy for the future in the massacre caused by the best knight of the north. Does that include me?" But all those plans were interrupted by a plane crash in the sky, and her boring life ended. "And I found peace. But why did I suddenly become a young lady in a long-running novel? If you already have a boring life and a situation exactly like the character in the book you read before you die, how terrible would that be?" After returning to her room, Ruby started vomiting uncontrollably. She pondered her situation and felt a little sorry for herself. Since I've started a new life and become a character in a book, couldn't I at least have a decent family? Ruby was used to vomiting without anyone knowing, much like how she had grown accustomed to loneliness. One similarity between her previous life and this one was her struggle with anorexia. Before becoming Rudbeckia de Borgia, she had lived in South Korea but was adopted by an upper-class family in Spain, often considered a charity child taken in by a wealthy family. Ruby was able to attend a prestigious public school, ballet school, and tennis club. Her life was filled with charity galas and horse racing. One day, she noticed the mocking actions and words directed at her. At that time, Ruby didn't understand what it meant. She laughed along with the other children, unaware that she was imitating their cruelty. As time passed, Ruby became able to endure being bullied to some extent. The family who had adopted her were only kind to her in front of others. Both of her adopted parents had their own lovers, and her older brother had a promiscuous lifestyle and used drugs. There was only one sister who occasionally treated her well, but she said goodbye to the world at the age of 21. Even the eldest son, whom Ruby considered the greatest, turned out to be a monster like her father. Playing the role of the perfect daughter, always bright, intelligent, and obedient, had become a natural habit for Ruby. Making mistakes meant paying the price, and that was the same in her new life. At the age of 16, Ruby found herself in a fantasy novel she had read on a novel website called Wine and the Holy Grail. She had become Rudbeckia de Borgia, the villain in that story. The general plot of the novel is set in an era where the power of corrupt priests and the Pope could pierce the sky. The gentle priests and the northern families unite to punish the king, and the Britannia family using good to overcome evil. In this world, Rudbeckia is the Pope's daughter, destined to die early, but to die at the hands of the man she marries. Rudbeckia, who had gone through many marriages as a political pawn, is the character who will marry Iske van Omerta of the Britannia kingdom. Isaac, appointed as an official knight at the age of 15, became the youngest champion at 17 after defeating monsters in battle. Later, as a holy knight, the male lead became more dignified, making the hearts of many young women in the north flutter. He annoyed Ruby's father by constantly insisting on aestheticism and preventing all future marriages. The only two women who could be close to him were his younger sister and his childhood friend, Freya. Ruby thought his attitude had changed after the death of his biological mother. The young duke and the princess had fallen in love, but the Duchess Omerta ended her own life. That day had a profound impact on the two siblings, as in a world where the souls of suicides are cursed by the gods and doomed to wander, it was considered a taboo subject. The Duchess, who was originally a princess, had committed suicide. As for Isaac, how could an arrogant man like him, who dared to challenge the king, agree to marry Rhea? It was because, if Isaac refused, his sister would have to marry Enzo. Rather than letting his sister marry a scoundrel, Isaac agreed to the marriage. Currently, the Holy See cannot deal with the barbarians invading the border because all forces are concentrated in the interior. The price for receiving support from the excellent knights held by Britannia is this marriage. But why did Isaac destroy his father-in-law's family? It was because Rudbeckia poisoned his sister. Thinking about this, Ruby grew worried. Isaac must be furious with his treacherous wife, even though it was Cesari's doing. Rumours spread about Rhea being a promiscuous villain, a spy for the Pope, and her complicated personality. Not only did she treat Isaac's sister poorly, but she also mistreated Isaac's childhood friend, Freya, treating them like servants. It has been 3 years since Ruby entered the novel, and she now understood why Rudbeckia de Borgia's personality had become so ruined. The Duchess of Romania, loved by her family, the Angel of Sistina, it was all just a staged act. Ruby's previous life had been the same. She had been cared for in the same way, just like Ruby. At the same time, Cesar suddenly appeared in front of her door. Upon seeing her brother, Ruby was startled, which made him look a little confused. "Startled?" Cesar asked, then began to express his concern. "You didn't seem to be feeling well earlier. I was worried, so I came." Although Ruby pretended to be very happy on the outside, saying, "You're so worried about me," inwardly she felt contempt. Pretending to be a caring brother again. Disgusting. He then frankly inquired, "Are you not satisfied with this marriage? You can be honest." In Ruby's mind, thoughts began to swirl. "Honestly, if I'm honest, you'd hit me, wouldn't you?" She quickly pushed the thought aside. And please, get rid of that turtle model. I said I hate turtles. Despite her inner thoughts, she softly replied, Certainly not. I don't know why, but I just feel that the north is too far away. I won't be able to see you often there. I think I'll be lonely. Chessa looked at her with a caring tone. Why lonely? You have a husband. Ruby immediately put on a languid look. What does that have to do with anything? I want to live with you forever. He stepped closer to her, stroking her head comfortingly. My honor, that the most beautiful woman in Romania only wants me. The intimate feeling between the two siblings made Ruby feel scared. Her hands acted violently, and before she realized it, the protective barrier around Ruby collapsed in an instant. It made her feel good, yet goosebumps crawled over her skin. Despite his affection, Chessa had exploited and hurt her without hesitation. At 16, just as Ruby was getting used to this place, a marriage proposal from the Duke of the Rembrandt Kingdom arrived. According to the original story, he was one of the characters involved in the destruction of Ruby's family. After his engagement was broken off and he suffered public humiliation, Ruby, who had grown attached to her new family, refused the marriage to prevent the family's downfall. In that moment, before the Pope's cold demeanor, Ruby felt a chill. This place is no different. That night, Chessa beat her until she begged for mercy. It happened so many times that Ruby finally realized her situation. The truth is, Rhea is not his biological daughter. The woman who died right after giving birth to her, named Carmen, had been pregnant before meeting the Pope. This revelation was so similar to Ruby's previous life that she immediately grasped this way of living, like acting. Even so, isn't it too much for blood to mix with tears? Ruby tried to feign regret with teary eyes, continuing the sibling affection charade. I also feel terribly heartbroken to send you away. She then deliberately mentioned, I heard there are many devils there, making him try to comfort her. The excellent knights will give their lives to protect you, so what's there to worry about? I'll visit you as often as possible. It's not that bad. Think of it as a half trip to an interesting place. Just endure it for half a year. He won't touch you anyway, so don't worry. In her mind, Ruby kept asking herself, Are you sure that's what I'm worried about? She then didn't forget to ask him, Will you really come see me as often as possible? Chessa immediately emphasized, Of course. He didn't know that in her heart, Ruby was silently praying, Please don't come. She was thinking, Surviving this is too much for me. I don't want to poison my husband's sister, even though I know I'll be forced to do it. If that happens, everyone will believe I did it. So, within half a year, I have to prevent the assassination of my sister-in-law and make them realize that I am harmless. How can it be the same as before? Finally, the day Ruby put on her wedding dress arrived. How beautiful she looked at that moment. The Pope, upon seeing her, kept praising, My daughter, so beautiful. With a bride like this, the entire North will fall in love with you. Ruby responded with a touched and reluctant look, making the Pope immediately comfort her. You look so sad already. Don't cry, my dear. This isn't a permanent farewell. I'll miss you so much. You must miss us too, so pitiful. I also wish you could accompany your brother, but the situation doesn't allow it. He had no idea that Ruby was thinking, You don't know how lucky I feel. Even if it weren't like this, rumors about me and Chessa have spread everywhere. Don't those northerners look at us siblings with apprehension? Do they really not know, or are they pretending not to? As soon as Enzo appeared, he continued to grumble, heartbroken. Only I am heartbroken. Why is everyone so indifferent? Ruby approached him and called out, Brother Enzo. She even opened her arms to him and rushed into his embrace very naturally. Inwardly, she thought, This arrogant guy who can pierce the sky with his impulsiveness may be trouble, but at least Enzo isn't the one who hurts me. You're the normal one. Ruby didn't hesitate to express her affection for her fake brother. I'll miss you so much. Upon hearing these words, Enzo sulked. I won't miss you, you idiot, you big idiot. Cesar, seeing this, shook his head in exasperation. Easy, Enzo, you'll suffocate her. Then he approached her and gently called out, Ruby. She responded casually, Brother, you must come see me, okay? Cesar confidently replied, Of course, definitely. His strong and humorous survival instinct was almost amusing to Ruby. Suddenly, she had such a thought. She wanted to die so much that she finally realized death. Being trapped in her second life was no different from her previous one. How funny it was that she had been striving to live under the bright sunlight. Meanwhile, the northern knights were resting together under the shade of a tree. Ivan, panting, kept exclaiming, You guys look like you're about to die. Isaac was silent, only responding with a cold look and unfriendly words, making his teammates extremely irritated. What's wrong? Why not, Isaac? Ivan asked. Isaac replied flatly, Because looking at your face, I know Ellen is going to ask for something again. His teammate retorted irritably, You know that, and you're still like this? Why am I always the one who has to deal with the trouble when you're like this? Ivan muttered. Isaac quickly changed the subject. Is it my fault that my sister considers you weak, someone who doesn't even understand their own situation? Ivan, despite his annoyance, tried to remind himself to endure. Endure, endure, he muttered, before lowering his voice. While you're like this, your bride has arrived. Although she said she didn't need you to pick her up, you should come back soon and at least have a meal together. Look at your pathetic appearance. Isaac gave a faint smile. There seemed to be quite a few people welcoming her instead. Ivan tried to persuade him further, but Isaac replied irritably, Stop babbling. Ivan couldn't bear it any longer and shouted, Yes, I'm curious. So what? I'm curious about what the famous Pope's daughter looks like in person. Is that a crime? If you're so annoyed, why don't you go and welcome her yourself? Isaac snapped. Who are you to judge me? Their argument was interrupted by another knight standing between them, shaking his head in exasperation. Here we go again, 2 peas in a pod. After a period of Cold War, Ian took the initiative to back down. Sorry, I was being harsh again, not asking any more. Isaac simply replied, Ask what? Then Ivan started rambling again. Does she look like her portrait? What's her personality like? Things like that. Aren't you curious? Contrary to his expectations, Isaac only showed indifference. Not at all, he replied, making Ivan disappointed once again and turn away. Well, she's your wife, so it's better for you to judge for yourself. You should also prepare to fulfill your husbandly duties soon, because I absolutely can't stand seeing that guy's appearance. What's his name again? I can't stand seeing that dejected look becoming a joke like that nobleman before. Isaac muttered, his question lingering. How long do you think this charade will last? Ivan could only give his assessment. Actually, probably no one believes this marriage will last forever. The bride is experienced, and you're no slouch either. I know it'd be better for you to be with Freya, but even if I said that, that guy wouldn't understand. Earlier, while escorting the bride back to Omerta, Ivan had heard something. According to Evans, who officiated the wedding in Isaac's place, the bride had suffered from seasickness the entire way, but still managed to maintain a radiant smile, just as the rumours said. Meanwhile, in another place, someone looked critically ill but was incredibly tiny. That vague statement prompted Isaac to ask again. What? Ivan sighed and elaborated. I said she's tiny. Really short, about this tall. She looks like she'll die if you glare at her with that disgusted look. Although you hate this marriage, try putting yourself in her shoes. She's no different from a hostage, all alone. She must be lonely and scared. Upon hearing this, Isaac felt a pang of guilt. What suddenly got into you? Evan made a grand declaration. What else? I'm a northern knight, the angel of CA. If she's becoming my comrade's wife, of course I have to go and welcome her. Isaac calmly reminded him. You said you wanted to kill the Pope. Ian quickly explained, In short, what I meant to say is, your bride's situation is unexpectedly tragic. Before Isaac could respond, a voice suddenly approached them. I heard that the Borgia family is known for its beautiful appearance. It seems youthful for someone just because of their looks, and are willing to betray your country for it. Both Isaac and Ivan turned to look, startled to see a sword pointed at Ivan's throat. As soon as Ivan saw the culprit's face, he quickly pushed him away, then angrily questioned, "How dare you speak so disrespectfully, pointing a sword at your senior?" The young man stammered an explanation. "Because you looked so imposing, I apologize." Isaac sternly reprimanded him. "Enough. Why are you causing such a commotion?" Lorenzo, seeing Isaac's serious face, boldly proposed, "If you, Sir Isaac, divorce that Borgia woman and marry my sister, I think it would be better. But until then, please refrain from acting acquainted with my sister." Both Isaac and Ivan were taken aback by the proposal. Ivan immediately started shouting, "Make yourself understood. These kids these days, really?" Lorenzo hastily corrected himself. "I'm sorry, what I meant was, please, Sir Isaac, stay away from my sister for now. Otherwise that Borgia woman will torture my sister to death." Ian couldn't stay still and scolded, "Can't you be more careful with your words? Your head is already full of prejudice." Lorenzo emphasized, "It's not prejudice. Then why did my sister lock herself in her room and cry after returning from Onta?" This information made Isaac ask, "You said Freya went where?" Lorenzo honestly replied, "Omerta Castle. When Lady Rhea arrived at the castle, Lady Ellen and my sister were having tea." Ian realized inwardly, "I also went to see Isaac's wife. How could your sister not cry after meeting her? Both of you are inconsiderate." At the same time, Isaac hurriedly left, prompting Ivan to call out, "Hey, Isaac, where are you going?" Though they tried to hold him back, Isaac simply replied, "Today is my day off, so I'll be going now." This left the other knights puzzled. Only when she's extremely comfortable does he consider it a day off, while turning his comrades into this. They tried to pretend they hadn't heard. Ivan, on the other hand, felt relieved as he watched Isaac's retreating figure. At that moment, in the palace, a voice inquired, "I heard you were very seasick." Ruby cheerfully replied, "Because it's my first time travelling such a long distance, although it's a bit embarrassing to say I've never left the south before." The woman sitting with her smiled gently and said, "There's nothing to be ashamed of. I've never left Randall either." Her demeanour made Ruby stare. How can someone look like that? Whoever lets God's creation die like this is a criminal. She was Elle Omerta, Isaac's younger sister. Despite meeting for the first time, Isaac's younger sister was very considerate. "Does the food suit your taste?" she asked. "Because your stomach might not be feeling well, I only brought out light snacks." Ruby politely replied, "No, not at all. They're all delicious. I'm a little nervous, but thank you for the food." Although inwardly Ruby wasn't feeling very benevolent, she tried to remain composed. "Light snacks or heavy meals, it's all the same." Ellen then explained, "Whenever summer comes, spider monsters appear. My brother might be late coming back. Please understand. My father has some business in the territory and won't be back until the end of the month. I'm very ashamed that I haven't been able to welcome you properly." In contrast, Ruby smiled brightly. "I'm really fine. Don't worry about me," Ellen added. "Since my mother passed away, I've been in charge of managing the mansion, but now I will change things according to Madame's preferences. If you find anything you don't like, or anything that's inconvenient, please let me know." A thought popped into Ruby's head. "Madam?" Such a stiff way of addressing me. She then expressed her gratitude. "Thank you for your concern, but for now I just want to keep things as they are. I'm still not used to the lifestyle here and lack experience, so I'm worried I'll cause trouble for everyone." Ellen was stunned for a moment, then lowered her voice, reminding her, "You don't need to worry. No one would dare think of Madam that way." Her words made Ruby feel awkward. "That's really formal." "That wasn't what I meant," Ruby quickly added. Then she decided to speak up. "Actually, I have a favor to ask. Could you call me Ruby for the time being?" Both Ellen and the servants were surprised by the request. Ruby explained further, "Here there are only strangers to me. Though it sounds pathetic, honestly, I feel lost and scared. I don't know how to adapt. If you just act a little more friendly, I'll have more courage." Unexpectedly, Ellen replied curtly, "All right." This made Ruby stare blankly for a moment, then immediately stood up. "Really?" When Ellen confirmed yes, Ruby joyfully grabbed her hand. "Thank you." Ellen flinched at the action, causing Ruby to quickly apologize. "I'm sorry." Ellen simply smiled. "It's okay." This made Ruby feel even more embarrassed. "Then, can I call you Ellen?" Isaac's sister quickly nodded in agreement. "Yes, it's good for us to be comfortable with each other." Ruby breathed a sigh of relief. Being too reserved isn't good either. Excessive modesty can cause misunderstandings. This statement left Ruby confused. Misunderstandings? Does she mean stop beating around the bush and just reveal your true nature? Come to think of it, Ruby realized, my appearance is really unexpected. I'm not expecting the people here to like me. My goal is to appear as harmless as possible in everyone's eyes. All right, for now, just stay calm. As soon as she finished her thoughts, Ruby explained, "I'm used to being misunderstood. I'll try my best not to become someone else." This surprised Ellen once again. She continued the conversation with an offer. "If you're done with your meal, let me show you to the room you'll be using from now on." Ruby was overwhelmed by the splendor of the room as soon as she stepped inside. "Is this really my room?" Ellen quickly replied, "I tried my best to decorate it, but I don't know if you'll like it." Ruby readily admitted, "I love it. I've always wanted a room facing the sea." Ellen then decided to say goodbye. "You must be tired today. Please rest quickly in case my brother comes back later than expected." Ruby cheerfully replied, "Don't worry about me, Ellen. It just so happens that I'm sleepy too." But inside she felt incredibly happy. On the contrary, I'm even more relieved. My goal isn't my husband's love. This might even make people feel sympathetic towards me. While leaving Ruby's bedroom, the head maid gave her a piercing look. The cold made Ruby sneeze repeatedly, shivering. So cold, even if it is the north. After checking around, she discovered the fire had gone out. "I heard that there are many monsters in the north, so the fire has to be lit every night. Unless someone deliberately blew it out. There's no way it could have gone out like this. Is there any kindling left?" She immediately remembered the sharp gaze of the head maid from earlier. Could it have been her? Just then, a rustling sound startled her. As Ruby glanced towards the source of the sound, she discovered a monster standing behind the door. Ruby froze, staring at the monster before her. She collapsed onto the floor, facing the enormous creature. "I can't move." Only able to tremble, Ruby managed to say, "Stay away from me." The monster growled at the sight of its weak target. Ruby thought, "I have to run away, but my body won't move." The monster peered at her curiously, seeing that Ruby didn't react aggressively like other humans it had encountered. It simply continued to growl. "I told you to stay away from me," Ruby shouted again, but her voice trembled with fear. At that moment, a servant opened the door and called, "Madam, you must wake up." But upon seeing the monster, the servant screamed in terror. Ellen appeared immediately. With too many voices calling out, Ruby closed her eyes, unsure of what else to do. A sword flashed, and a powerful beam of energy shot from it, piercing the monster amidst its loud shriek. Ruby covered her face with her hands as the monster fell heavily beside her with a piercing screech. Only then did she dare to open her eyes. A cloak brushed past Ruby's eyes. Her fiancé Isaac stood right in front of her. Isaac glanced at her with his red eyes, his expression cold and indifferent, making Ruby's heart pound. His voice was stern. "What is the reason for this?" Ruby looked at him, confused. Isaac continued, "I asked why you put out the torch." The absurd accusation made Ruby furious. Huh? What does he think? I put it out? Ruby stammered. I didn't. Isaac seemed unconvinced. I thought you attracted enough attention without needing to do such a thing. Or is it? His voice grew colder. Is this one of the excuses you plan to use to break off the engagement later? Ruby's heart sank. She had anticipated that he would hate her, but she hadn't expected it to be this bad. At this rate, will I be all right? Isaac's expression was one of someone who'd been cheated out of 100 million, making Ruby shiver. Ellen spoke up in defense of Ruby. Brother, don't be so quick to blame her. We still don't know for sure who did it. Even if Ruby did it, she probably didn't know any better. They don't do this torch thing in Romania. Ruby teared up inwardly, touched. I love you, Ellen. Even if I die, I swear I'll save you before I do. But first I have to clear up this misunderstanding. Ruby reached out and clutched Ellen's sleeve. I was just cold, Isaac asked irritably. What? Can't you speak louder? Ruby fearfully explained. I said I woke up a while ago and the fire was already out. Isaac scoffed sarcastically. So, you're implying that someone else did this? Who, my sister or me? His tone was so harsh that even Ellen had to intervene. Brother, stop it, Ellen said firmly. Ruby weakly grabbed Ellen's sleeve. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. Under the gazes of the Isaac siblings, Ruby softly apologized. I think I might have put it out when I first fell asleep because I felt hot. I'm sorry for causing such a commotion. I was being thoughtless. Ruby sniffled and hid behind Ellen. I won't do it again. Ellen sympathetically comforted her as she cried. Isaac sighed, unable to press the matter further. I have something to ask you, Isaac said, breaking the silence. Ruby glanced at him with tear-glued eyes. Yes? Isaac wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. Finally, he gave up and turned away. Forget it. It's nothing. With that, he strode away. Ruby was left curious. What was that? What did he want to ask me? If he's going to say something, he should just spit it out.